So they're like yay in size, and inside there's like rose encased in like a sweet fruit, kind of like a mango-y consistency.
Ferment the seeds, the more the better, in a large container, preferably a wooden box, or sometimes a Henneken bag. They're fermented for about 4 or 5 days with the fruit pulp on, and during that fermentation process the chocolate heats up and the flavors are developed. Once it's properly fermented and properly dried, which takes a couple weeks, it can then be stored. The first step is to roast the chocolate, and it's roasted a lot like coffee. A little less heat and less time. So we get a good batch in a cast iron stovetop roaster. Turn the beans so they don't burn until they start to crackle and pop. The beans taking color now, just about ready now to shell. Process similar to cooling coffee. And if you were here, you could smell the delectable aroma of fresh roasted chocolate. And this is a smell that's common in the streets of southern Mexico, especially during Todos Santos. And chocolate's prepared as an offering to the dead ancestors. And we sell chocolate in the local farmers market. So we do everything hands-on. So the next step will be shelling the beans. We'll hand this out. If you all can help with that process, then we'll move on. And we wait until it's cool just enough, while it's still warm, and we remove the shell. After which we'll do a winnowing process to separate the husk. And if the chocolate is handled properly and it's roasted properly, the shell comes off and the bean remains whole, intact. The lighter husk from the bean comes off quite easily. The next step that we have is creating the nibs, or grinding into smaller pieces. So we take the whole seed. In this case we use a Champion juicer without the screen on the bottom. So this then gives us our ground, and this is what we will later put into the conching machine. We want to prepare the vanilla, so we try to help the conching process by cutting it as fine as possible. And we use the whole pod. This is the machine that will be running, in this case all night until tomorrow morning. So after a while it'll change, because you'll be able to see that it starts to melt. And this is a little spring that we tighten as time goes on. Our means and methods are 100% organic, is because we're trying to preserve the quality of the soil, not using any toxic chemicals so that we don't harm the ecosystem or have any runoff which may reach the river, which may harm fish and even the microlife of the soil. Cacao typically is an understory plant. It grows in a tropical forest in the shade of canopy trees. It encourages farmers to restore some of the native canopy, the native forest that's been destroyed by chemical farming and by modern methods in the last 50, 20 years even, especially here in the local area where cattle ranching has become pretty prevalent. And there are other things that grow in a similar environment, like the vanilla orchid. It's a kind of a win-win system for growing cacao. Starting to turn to a liquid and starting to grind. The flavor of the vanilla is starting to enter into the chocolate. So then we introduce little by little the sweetener. This will give us a chocolate that's about 65% dark chocolate. Okay, so now we have our toasted almonds, which we're going to chop for making an almond bark. And you see now we have our tempered chocolate. You can see the shine. This is after 18 hours, 20 hours in the conching machine. And now the chocolate liqueur has been tempered by heating and cooling and heating and cooling and stirring. So now what we want to do is make an almond bark. So we need to chop the almonds. So we add our chopped almonds to our tempered chocolate. I will turn this out onto our wax paper. Chocolate turtles. And these are going to go into the freezer for 5 or 10 minutes. Some of them are ready to turn out. And there we have a turtle.